Hey guys, Owen here from D20. I just wanted to make a quick video today, more for the point about making these small videos is more about the discipline of putting content out there, not necessarily committing to any particular high quality content. I found that in putting together the more polished videos that I've produced in the time, polished by my definition at least, the kinds of videos that require a fair amount of prep work and post production and that kind of thing, I'm finding it difficult to stay motivated with that kind of thing. So I want to force myself into the discipline of putting out content on a regular basis. So I'm going to try to commit to putting out more of these little videos. Whenever something is stuck in my head and something I want to talk about, then I'll put out a video like this one. And this one is about something that happened yesterday. It was what got me thinking about it. So I want to talk about ethics in gaming, specifically around cheating. So I've been involved in gaming for years and years. I've also been a judge of various different kinds of games. Magic the Gathering, I never actually qualified as a level 1 judge, but I was in the Judge Initiate program for a while, so I was the judge of record for a number of small tournaments that I ran. Things like HeroClix and Star Trek CCG, they don't have a sharp distinction between a tournament organizer and a judge. They're basically one and the same, and I served in that capacity for a number of years. And something that's interesting about that kind of game is that it's very easy to cheat by accident. In Magic, it's very easy to miscalculate the mana cost of a card, or to accidentally play an extra land this turn, or to draw an extra card by mistake, to misinterpret a card by accident, and completely innocently, what you've done is you've cheated the game. So a lot of what judges have to do is figuring out how to spot these infractions and then figure out what to do about it. So somebody's done something wrong. They've paid an incorrect mana cost, or they've played an extra land, or they've drawn an extra card, or something like that. Now, what do you do about it? Can you just rewind the action and then continue, or is the game irreparably damaged after that point? In which case, you have to award a game loss or something like that, which makes it very, very complicated. But the same is also true in something like Star Trek CCG. It's very easy to something that I've done myself as a player many times is I've miscounted the cost of dilemmas. When I'm issuing dilemmas to my opponent, I'll miscount them constantly. Not constantly, but it's happened to me a few times that I've miscalculated them. And when I spot it, because I'm checking myself as they're encountering the dilemmas, I'll realize, oh crap, I couldn't have afforded that dilemma. You should probably, you get that for free. I mean, that kind of error correction is built into the game of Star Trek CCG, which is nice. Something like HeroClix, there are even more factors, because it's very easy to accidentally bump the table, and then your figure shifts slightly on the board. So instead of being on this square, suddenly it's in that square, and that changes the whole state of the game. Now, how do you know which square that your figure was in? It can be very difficult to keep track of that kind of thing. So in those kinds of situations, as a judge, or some equivalent of a judge, one kind of has to take the default position of benefit of the doubt. If somebody has taken an illegal action in the game, your default assumption should be they probably didn't mean to do that. It was probably an accident. Unless they've done the same thing over and over again, like within the same game, or if they're known for doing that same thing, eventually it gets to a point where you kind of have to say, no, that's not allowed. We're calling cheating on that, and we're going to have to discipline you accordingly. There are certain actions in all of these kinds of games which are unambiguous cheating. Something like if you're going to palm a card so that you can slip it into your deck later on, that kind of thing is right out. And if you get caught doing something like that, forget about it. Then you deserve anything that happens to you. When it comes to electronic gaming, cheating can often be quite difficult. Something like Hearthstone. I don't even know if it's possible to cheat in Hearthstone, because the game just won't let you. The system of the game is constructed in such a way that you can't introduce illegal cards into your deck. You can't take an illegal action. None of that stuff will work. And if you are able to exploit a loophole in the system that gives you infinite damage or infinite mana or something, that's a bug in the system, and it'll be corrected momentarily. But other games, something like World of Warcraft, it is possible to cheat because it's just such a complicated game. The system can't lock down every possibility, so people are able to use things like bots and various other things like that to cheat. Something like Pokemon Go. So this is what happened yesterday. Is I had an encounter yesterday that got me thinking about this. It is very easy to cheat in Pokemon Go. There are multiple ways of doing that. So I want to just go through the players' guidelines on what defines cheating in Pokemon Go. Let's just pull this up. Right. There it is. Okay, so this is on the support page at Pokemon Go at NianticLabs.com, and this is the no cheating phrase here on the page. Don't do it. Play fair. Pokemon Go is meant to be played on a mobile device and get you outside to explore your world. Methods of cheating, unfortunately, are limited only by characters' imaginations. Sorry, are limited only by cheaters' imaginations, but include at a minimum the following: using modified or unofficial software, playing with multiple accounts, one account per player please, sharing accounts, using tools or techniques to alter or falsify your location, or selling or trading accounts. Now, when it comes to one of those in particular, the playing with multiple accounts, I've actually done a separate video on that issue. It's multi-boxing. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description. Otherwise, you can just search for it on my channel. It's there. I did a video on multi-boxing in various games, and I compare the ethics of that. What I want to talk about is the other ones, and in particular, in this case, using tools or techniques to alter or falsify your location. So this is what is referred to as spoofing. So the way this works is, if you want to spoof in Pokemon Go, you can't be using the current legal version of the client. Typically, in order to play Pokemon Go, you have to have the latest version of the Pokemon Go app. But the latest version of the Pokemon Go app will lock you out. It won't let you spoof your location. So you have to download an older, broken version of the app, which will allow you to falsify your location. You then have to have a separate tool, which then will mask your device's GPS location. So ordinarily, your device knows where it is. It's using a combination of GPS, GSM triangulation, so it's looking at the cell towers in your area to figure out roughly where it is, and it's also looking at the known location of Wi-Fi signals in the area. And it uses all of those things to triangulate a nice, precise location of where you are, accurate to within a few meters. But what spoofing software does is it hijacks all of those features on your phone and allows you to input any location in the world, anywhere in the world, and your phone will think that you're there. And then your phone takes that data and feeds it into the cracked version of the Pokemon Go app, which then allows your Pokemon Go app to think that you're anywhere in the world, which then allows you to play Pokemon Go at that spot. Now, this is unambiguous cheating. And the reason I say this is it's not possible to do it by accident. You can't accidentally happen onto all of these actions that you have to take. Now, all of that spoofing software, typically you can't just load it on any device. You have your Samsung Galaxy S5 or whatever that you bought from the store. As it comes, you can't load spoofing software on there usually. Typically, you have to do stuff to the phone. You have to what they call it. You have to unlock it. There's a name for it. It's just fallen out of my head. I've done it with several phones in the past. You have to unlock the booting mechanism so that you can install custom ROMs on it, because the base ROM that comes with it with the store won't let you do that. So in other words, you have to do a lot of work on your device in order to make it so that you are able to spoof. This is not something that you can just do by accident. You can't accidentally set up your phone so that you're spoofing. And you can't do any of those things without knowing that it's explicitly banned by Niantic, by the rules of Pokemon Go. So in other words, spoofing is unambiguous cheating. Now, you could argue that multi-boxing is also unambiguous cheating because you have to go through the process of creating a second account. That's probably true. Like I said, I've made a separate video about that, and I have complicated feelings about multi-boxing in particular. I don't do it, by the way. I'm not a multi-boxer, but it's an interesting question that I think is worth discussing. Spoofing, I think, there's no point discussing it. The discussion has been had. It's over. Spoofing is cheating, and that's all. So whenever I encounter a spoofer, which is often, so as it happens in Cape Town, Cape Town's a really good place to play Pokemon Go because there's a high density of stops throughout the city. There's a lot of gyms, and there are a couple of parks that have multiple gyms, which means that those gyms are EX raid eligible. If you don't play Pokemon Go, none of that stuff will make any sense to you, but that's fine. Suffice to say, Cape Town is a really good place to play Pokemon Go, and as a result, we have a lot of spoofers who will fool their devices into thinking that they're walking around Cape Town and playing here. And what that means for the local players is that our our play experience gets interrupted. So one of the ways that happens is the gyms that we would ordinarily be fighting for control over. Now it's hard enough because there are enough Pokemon Go players in Cape Town who are physically here and who are walking around and actually playing the game, not cheating, actually playing. There are enough of us that we have to work pretty hard to keep control of our favorite gyms from each other. We have to organize ourselves into raiding parties so that we can raid with other players of the same faction so that we get all the faction bonuses and that kind of thing when we complete the raid. These things are non-trivial issues, and we spend a fair amount of time and effort coordinating those kinds of activities, only to have it all destroyed when a squadron of spoofers show up and either wreck a gym or will fill up a public lobby while we're trying to do a raid, and then will disrupt our team dynamic and that kind of thing. Like it's not a zero-sum game exactly, but it's not as if there are no victims to this crime. We are the victims. The people who are actually playing the game, who are not cheating, we are being screwed over by the people who are cheating. And that's unfair. I'm being disadvantaged by other people who are being unscrupulous and who are cheating on purpose. And as a result, I take a zero tolerance policy to these kinds of people. As I would if I were judging a Magic the Gathering tournament and I saw someone who was definitely cheating, that guy would be censured immediately. Whatever the appropriate measure is by the Magic rules, he would be applied that censure automatically. As it happens, there is an appropriate censure in Pokemon Go. What you do is you take a screenshot of the offending player's account, their account name, and there's a form. You can go and fill in online at Pokemon Go. You just Google the form, report spoofers or report cheaters. I can't remember the address. And in fact, there's a button inside inside the game that will take you to that page where you can just put their username in. You can upload any screenshots or whatever you might have taken of them. You can tell the story of what happened, of how you encountered this cheater. And then Niantic, the company that runs Pokemon Go, will review your report, and hopefully they'll ban that person for life. They'll take away their account. And I do that. I do that all the time. Whenever I encounter a spoofer who is unambiguously a spoofer, like for example, if I'm busy battling down a gym and I can see that gym is being actively defended and new defending Pokemon are being put onto the gym while I'm busy fighting it and there's nobody else around, then I know that those people are spoofers. They've just outed themselves as spoofers. So I'll take screenshots of all of those things and I'll report them immediately, because I don't want my game experience ruined by these unscrupulous arseholes. And frankly, if you're a person that I happen to know in real life who is a cheater in this game, I'm still going to report you. And I have done in the past. In fact, I did that yesterday. Because, frankly, if you're going to be cheating the game and screwing me over, then we can't really be friends. Sorry. So, if you want to avoid being reported by me, just stay out of Cape Town if you're a spoofer. Or better yet, don't be a spoofer. Just play the game properly, legally, like the rest of us do. Because, frankly, cheating isn't playing. If you're playing a game, that means that you're adhering to the rules of the game. You're operating within the confines of those rules. If you're doing anything outside of those rules, you're not playing that game anymore. You're not playing a different game. And because those of us who are actually playing are playing one game and the cheaters are playing a different game, that would be fine if they were two separate games and there the twain shall meet. The thing is, they're happening in the same arena, and that's not fair. That's not acceptable. So screw you guys. There was one more thing I wanted to say about this. It's fallen out of my head. All right, I'll follow it up. Do you have any comments? Do you have any complaints? Oh, there is one thing. So I've encountered a number of spoofers in the past, spoofers in particular. And when I call them out on their spoofing, they immediately will respond with a tirade of justifications and rationalizations for why they do it. Oh, but everybody cheats. According to the rules, if you just Google information on the Pokemon, or if you look at the Sylph Road Nest Atlas or something like that, that's totally cheating in terms of the guidelines. No, it isn't. If you read the guidelines, those guidelines that are on the screen right there, there's no mention of any of that stuff. Now, I will concede that the wording on those guidelines is deliberately conversational and not particularly precise, especially if you're used to things like the rules of Magic the Gathering, which are very, very precise and the words are chosen very carefully. These rules are not chosen all that carefully. So there is room for interpretation and for justification of certain activities within those, but spoofing is unambiguous. There's no wiggle room there. If you're spoofing, you're cheating. Things like multi-boxing, I've already spoken about multi-boxing is technically cheating. I'm not sure that it really disadvantages other players all that much. I'm open to being convinced. If you're multi-boxing, I'm not sure that that screws me over necessarily. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But something like screen scraping IV calculators. So these are third-party apps that you can install on your device. They don't access your Pokemon Go account at all, which obviously would be an issue for Niantic, and they've shut down any apps that have done that in the past. But what they do is they'll effectively take a screenshot of your Pokemon Go app when it's open. You're looking at a Pokemon, and it'll read the text on the screen and then calculate the IVs of the Pokemon, the combat values, essentially the hidden combat values of your Pokemon, and will then report back to you on what those values are. Although Niantic has said that they don't endorse that kind of thing, as far as I know, none of those kinds of applications have been removed from the App Store. So they're not endorsing it. They don't want you to do that, but they're not outright banning it. And there's nothing in these rules. I really need to get the hang of this. These rules down there. There's nothing in there that rules those things out. That's fine. To use IV calculators, to use Google, to use the Sulf Road, to use Discord to coordinate with other players. Sharing information is not against the rules. Spoofing your location is. That's cheating. Screw you guys. All right. Okay. I'm getting off into the weeds here, so I'm just going to call it there. Remember, if you want to be able to get more of this kind of content, you can support me on Patreon, patreon.com/D20. Is that right? I think that's right. Let me pull that up. Here we go. Here's all the links right below my face. Go to any one of those places. You can join the community. You can have a conversation with me about this stuff. You can throw me a couple of bucks on Patreon, help keep the channel running, and hopefully I'll be doing more of this kind of content in the future. If you like that, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know. All right, that's it for now. SWAT out.